How you going, guys? It's L0lergys here, and welcome to my second tips and tricks video. This video will be focused around Ironman and more primarily about how to get started in Ironman than anything. There's so much stuff to cover in an entire Ironman video, so I'm going to keep this short and simple, and it'll be, like I said, focused around the starting, maybe the first week in the beginning, and some tips and tricks for when you're first getting the ball rolling. It won't be anything too in-depth. Just a general overview, and yeah, hopefully from there you can actually get somewhere with it. So before I actually get into any of the nitty-gritty stuff, I thought I'd give just a bit of a general overview to what Ironman actually is. So Ironman is a game mode that's proposed by Jagex, originally thought up by the community and popularized through Twitch streams, whereby you play yourself. It's single player. You can't interact or trade with anyone. You can't use the grand exchange. Everything you do is to progress your character yourself. So with Iron Man comes a few limitations and blocks that Jagex have put in themselves. So Iron Man starts with a freshly created character. You have to make a character from scratch and start all over again. Once entered into the Iron Man mode, it can't be turned off. So you can't turn the Iron Man mode off. However, in Hardcore Iron Man, they said that if you were to die, you can revert back to normal Iron Man. You cannot trade with other players, so no interactions whatsoever. You can't profiteer off any of the items you find and sell. You can't use the grand exchange. You can't pick drops up from players. You can't pick drops up from monsters you haven't killed. You cannot participate in multiplayer mini games. Cannot be affected by other players' beneficial spells or abilities, for example, teleport group or ice asylum. Cannot be affected by group buffs, e.g. the clan avatar. Cannot use the player's player-owned house services, gilded altars, lecterns, etc. Cannot acquire resources or equipment from Treasure Hunter, which is a huge thing, and I'm so glad they've done that. Cannot be assisted or accept aid. Cannot buy items in shop, which is supplied by other players. So you can't sell a AGS to the general store and have someone else buy it. You cannot join a dungeoneering team. It's only solo play. However, they did mention that a death in dungeoneering isn't an actual death, so you can die in dungeoneering and keep going. You cannot use the group system when it launches. So they're the main limitations within the game that Jagex has said they're going to implement. Also with this system comes a few extra little features. So they'll have a hardcore mode, which is exactly the same as Iron Man, except for when you die, it's all over. They did mention recently, however, though, that at total level of 1,000, you can buy an extra life for 100k, and at a total level of 1,600, you can buy an extra life for 10 mil. The reason they said they implemented these things was to sort of combat disconnect deaths. They said they didn't really have any actions or plans to completely fault find that system. It was just simple you buy a life and that's it. There'll be a separate high score system for both Iron Man and Hardcore Iron Man, and each account will be represented by a different chat icon in the box. So before we get started on the first section, I'll just let you know that I did actually play an account from scratch on the week just gone for about 3 or 4 days. I sort of tested out a few ideas, what worked, what didn't, and just played through the account like I would have if I had the Ironman account. So the things I'm about to talk about I have actually done. Parts of this guide have been like snippets from forums or threads and stuff I've already read, and a lot of it's been my own research. So we'll get started. So on the first day, yes, in about 8 hours I did these quests. So on the screen you'll see a bunch of quests that I tried to get out as quick as possible. I ranked the quests on like risk versus reward because I am doing a hardcore account and I did not die doing any of these quests. However, there are a few quests you do need to be careful of. The waterfall quest, for example, you have to run past a moss giant. I highly recommend to any Iron Man player, especially the hardcore guys, that if you want to start doing quests early on, it might pay just to have a bit of time leveling up your hit points. Maybe spend a couple hours doing a bit of combat. Stack your inventory full of food, but as I did in the trial period, I didn't die at all doing any of these quests. So now on the screen also you'll see the skills I got from doing these quests. So the skills you see at the moment are literally all of the stuff I got from doing the quest on the previous screen. I did get a few extra fishing levels so I could do Gertrude's cat, but that was about it. I also recommend that you do the Stronghold of Security. It has a free 10k reward at the end, and that 10k does go a very long way in the beginning, and it did help me immensely. So that's about it for the first day. I just smashed quests out and did a little bit of leveling to get my combat experience up, but that was about it. As I said at the start, it's more about trying to build a foundation and a base on the first day for you to then progress further on down the track. The quicker you get the quests out of the way, the less time you have to spend fucking around with them, and you also get a lot of extra bonus experience while doing these quests. So the next section will be about money making tips. This section could really be the biggest because there's so many different things I can go through. I won't individually go through every single idea I can think of off the top of my head, but I'll give you a couple examples. So picking up steel plate bodies in the fire zone in the wilderness, or looting the gold bars out of the basement in the Rock Museum using telegrab. There's lots and lots and lots. You have to be a bit creative and maybe find some older material back in the past, the ways noobs used to make money. But for the most part, you'll spend most of your time alching. All of your income is generally going to come from alching things. Um, I'll try and link it like a database spreadsheet in the description on alching prices and whatnot. Um, the reason I say alching is important because you can actually thieve the nature runes from the Artie chest in the top of the house. I'll link that in the description also on how to get there and do that. And those nature runes will help you in the long run. So this section will be more geared towards the hardcore guys because it is after all about survivability tips. There will be some normal Ironman accounts that want to know some of this stuff, but for the most part it's not that applicable to you. So as I said in the start of the video, the thing I can stress the most is to train your combat before you do anything. Just sit down for a couple hours killing chickens or something and get your HP up just that little bit because it really will pay off in the end. You can also stockpile a little bit of shrimp from fishing and cooking and stuff like that, but for the most part it's all about your combat. Understand the locations you're going to enter before doing anything. For example, going into the Acrid mine, if the scorpions are still there, I didn't actually go, but back in the day they used to kill a lot of noobs walking through there. Another good thing to note is the location of shops that sell food. There are quite a few shops around RuneScape that actually sell food for a decent price, like cake stalls and all that sort of good stuff. Another one that has caught people out in the past, from I know watching Twitch streams, is have anti-poisons. There's nothing worse than getting poisoned and not having the anti-poison and dying. There are a lot of other survivability tips, but these were just some main ones and some examples of like trying to drill that thought process into your mind of things you want to be looking out for when you do play a hardcore Ironman account. So the last section of this video will just be some general extra tips on like acquiring items and good ways to make money. So something that is going to be really useful in this are temporary boosts. So any way you can temporarily boost a skill will pay off in the end because you might be able to boost to something you can make in the future. Stockpile everything. Anything you make or create or find, just stick it in the bank somewhere. It will come back and you'll think, thank God I saved that in the end when you go looking for it in your bank. Thieving nature runes from the Ardougne chest. There's a chest in one of the other Ardougne buildings that I'll put a link in the description for about where you can thieve and open the chest continuously to get a good stock of nature runes, which, as I said earlier in the video, will be immensely helpful for hacking things. You can crack safes in the rogue den, although I'm pretty sure that requires a higher thieving level, but just keep that in mind. You can raise cats for 100 death runes if you want. Another big thing that I recommend every single person do when they get enough money or any excess coin, because wealth in terms of coins won't have that much of a use after you buy your second life. I highly recommend that you put it all into the managing miscellanea. That mini game you can do, confirmed by JegX, and that does bring in a lot of gathering income like logs and all that stuff that you can use to train other skills. And another big thing is do treasure trails. I know that sounds sort of redundant. There is the sort of cool factor about a guy wearing rune trimmed or something, but you can alch a lot of a treasure trail and you probably get a good 100k off of a decent treasure trail from alching them. So that's just a real general overview of some extra tips to keep in mind when you're doing the Ironman challenge. So as I said guys, this was just a real quick general overview of some things that I've jotted down over the days of testing it myself. I said that we could go into depth on just about every single individual step and process you could take within this, but this video would literally go for hours. RuneScape is a huge game, there's so much to explore and so much to discover, it's infeasible that we put it in one video. So hopefully here I've just scratched the surface of a good way to start your first day on Ironman, and hopefully it does help some people out in the future. So guys, if you like what you see here, please don't hesitate to subscribe, rate and like. I am a YouTuber, I'm trying to make a name for myself, so I do videos like this, and would appreciate if you could drop subscribe, or any of that sort of stuff does help me at the end of the day and makes me feel like I'm actually getting somewhere with it. So that's all folks, and thanks for watching.